To make a castle inspired by Paul Klee's cities, you will need a black sheet of paper, a white pencil, and our shape tracers. You can use any of these shape tracers to help you create your geometric shapes that will create your castle. Think about keeping things consistent and symmetrical by doing something the same on both sides, but you don't have to. The way that tracers work, though, is you pick what shape you want, you line it up with where you want it, and then you take your pencil and you trace it on the inside of that shape. Then you shift the shape tracer, line it up again where you want it, and trace again. You can do the whole shape like I've done here, or you could choose to do part of a shape like I'm going to do here. I'm going to take this circle, line it up between these two rectangles, and connect. I can also use the outside edge if I want to. But all of the shapes that I'm going to make are going to be from one of these tracers. If you want to add some details that are not part of a tracer, like I'm going to add a flag here, you can certainly do that. But for the most part, we should be connected shapes. I can also go in with my white pencil to add some details. When I'm ready to start cutting out, I can do so with my scissors. I'm going to start at one edge and follow my lines around. Keeping my scissors straight ahead, turning my paper around instead. Sometimes it's easier to cut a piece all the way off than to keep having to deal with that flappy bit. Remember, it's the inner part of the scissors that does the cutting. So if you're cutting way up here at the tip, it's going to be much harder for you. Open your scissors big, put your paper inside the alligator mouth, and slowly squeeze that mouth shut. That is the part that does the cutting. For me, this is meant to be an opening, a gate, but you could make it a door if you wish, or something else. But I'm choosing to make it something that you could walk underneath. What do you do if you have something that, like a hole in your work? Like, let's say you made a little window and you wanted to have that window be a cutout where you could see all the way through it. Or let's say you had a bridge connecting two parts and you wanted it to not be solid underneath, but instead have the sky show. What do? How do you get these pieces cut out without cutting from the middle of the paper? Here's a trick. Fold a little bit where the part that's going to be cut away is. Put a little crease in your paper. Take your scissors and make a little cut. Then, with the paper flat again, you can stick your tip of your scissors in there. And you can cut in that space. It's a little bit tricky, and yes, you're going to be cutting with the tips of the scissors, which I know I just said not to do, but it can work for you. as long as the thing you're cutting is not too small. So that can be a little tricky, but it looks cool. There you go. I'm ready to glue this onto my watercolor. To glue, you will need your cutout castle, your watercolor painting, and white glue. So to glue, first you want to decide where you want to glue it. So remember, this is a castle, so it should probably be near the bottom of your picture, unless for some reason you really want like a floating castle in the sky, which you could do, but it's a little bit trickier that way. I like to put it at the bottom just so it kind of looks like it may be sitting on the ground and we're seeing it in the sky. But you also want to be thinking about what it's covering up. You know, maybe don't put it right in the middle so it's covering up your really cool swirl where they meet, unless you don't like that part of your picture. Maybe don't put it so that it's covering up your whole moon. So, you know, find a spot where it looks good and it's not covering up anything too important. You decide what that is for your artwork because everybody has their own version. When you're ready and you've decided on your placement, take your castle and turn it over so that the details are now on the back. The glue always goes on the back so that we can see those cool white pencil lines that we created. So now I'm going to take my glue. It's shut, should be. I'm going to twist it open, turn it upside down, shake a little bit towards the tip, and gently squeeze. Remember, it is a liquid, so it can't ever come out just going this way. I have to turn it over. I'm going to squeeze a few dots, dot, dot, not a lot, on the back of my castle. I don't want to get too close to the edges of things because I don't want that glue to get out onto my paper outside of the castle. Because if I do that, it will show up and it won't look as nice. So I'm going to put a little dot on each of those little flags. But do you guys see how it's not a ton of dots of glue? They're not really big. And remember, a dot is when you squeeze and touch the bottle. It's not squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and waiting for it to drip by itself, because that's how you get puddles. So squeeze and touch. When you're ready, flip this over and place it where you wanted it. I'm lining up with the bottom myself, but then I'm going to gently rub the direction of the shapes so that I'm not catching anything and folding it back. And then I'm going to stick it down. And I want to kind of spread my hands out and count to maybe 30 to get a really good connection with the paper and make sure this is really well glued down. Okay, I'm done and ready to take my photo.